Hey everyone, welcome to the channel, or welcome back to the channel. Hopefully you're a subscriber, so you're just coming back to check out the next episode. But this is continuing in the saga of the van. It's a 2015 Dodge Grand Caravan SXT, very similar to the Town and Country by Chrysler. Anyway, it is slightly over temping sometimes when driving, especially when it's sitting in traffic. To try to figure out what's going on with this, I've replaced the resistor in the radiator fan. I've replaced the entire radiator fan. And today I'm going to be replacing the thermostat on the van because I'm thinking maybe the thermostat is just not able to open completely. So it's getting kind of stuck closed, but not fully stuck closed. I'm worried enough about that. I don't want it to get fully stuck and then completely overtemp the engine. So I'm going to replace the thermostat today, and I'll take you along with me. To get started, I'm going to remove the engine cover off the engine just to get it out of the way. Also, to get it out of the way, I'm going to remove the air intake box. So it's going to be removing the top, just pulling the hose off of the intake manifold, and then also pulling the power steering reservoir off with just removing one nut, and just push the power steering reservoir to the side. Then you'll have the bottom of the box free, and you can obviously take the air filter out, inspect that. You may want to replace it if it's dirty, but then the bottom of that box is just held in place with grommets, and so you just lift up and pull it free of the grommets that are holding it in. And there's also a wire harness that's just held in place with a trim Christmas tree type thing, so just pull that off the box as well, and then you can set that aside, and then you've got much easier access to the thermostat itself. You don't necessarily have to do this, but I think it's just be a lot easier if you just give yourself as much room as possible, since it's so easy to take some of this stuff off. All right, with that stuff out of the way, it's easier to show you now what's going on. So power steering reservoir, and there's a couple of clips on the hoses that you can just disconnect those, release those, so that the thing is easier to move around. And really, you're just kind of shoving it out of the way as you need to get access to the thermostat. And the thermostat is right here. And there are just two bolts, one at the top that's super easy, one right down here. You can feel it with your fingers, also super easy to access. You have lots of room. This is a bleeder screw. We're going to use this when we refill the lines, but we're not going to drain the radiator, so there really shouldn't be a whole lot of work we'll have to do to bleed everything out. This is the clamp for the radiator hose, and this white mark, we'll talk about that later, but this is the layout. This is where everything's located. So let's pop under the van for just a quick second. So what you're looking at right in the center, this is the lower radiator hose that goes up to the thermostat. That's what we're going to be taking off. When we pull it off the engine block, there probably will be a little bit of fluid that pulls out of the engine. And I've got a bucket down here. There's this plastic guard that I know I can take off, but I'm just not going to. Where that fluid's going to go, I don't know. I put a bucket on here to try to catch it. My guess, with my luck with fluids, it's just going to end up going on the driveway, which is why I'm doing this in the driveway, not the garage. But it shouldn't be a whole lot of fluid. Let's hope this doesn't make a liar out of me. So now I'll use a 10mm socket to pull the two bolts out of the thermostat, and then I'll be pulling the thermostat away from the van and get it up towards the top of the engine. I'm going to use my radiator hose pinch-off pliers to squeeze the lower radiator hose just to ensure that coolant's not going to come out, but it shouldn't come out, and if you raise it up higher than the radiator, then there shouldn't be a problem at all. But we're going to pull the thermostat and the hose off as one assembly. So the lighting's not great. I don't know if you saw the little bit of fluid that did come rushing out. We'll go look underneath and see where it collected to maybe give you a better glimpse on where to put that container. But it did come out. It's not a whole lot, but it did, of course, get on the accessory belt. So one of the things we're going to do when we're all done is rinse that off really well with a garden hose. We don't want that fluid to sit there forever because it could degrade the belt. We're also going to have to clean that interface with some paper towels, etc., get that nice and clean before we put the new thermostat back in. So looking under the van, clearly, I didn't have a camera down here, of course, but some of it went in the bucket, but not a whole lot. More of it ended up on the driveway. But let's see if we can tell. So it just kind of came out all at once and just went everywhere. So if you've got a big pan, put it underneath here. That might help you out, but anticipate a bit of a mess, I guess. I'm going to go ahead and release the pinch-off pliers and see if any extra fluid comes out of the Jeep or out of the van. And nope, No more is coming out. So with it up like this and the cap on the radiator still, so there's no fluid motion coming out of the engine block, so we can leave it like that. It gives me more room to get this spring off. So before I take the thermostat and the hose apart, I just want to show you there's a white stripe on my hose which lines up with the ridge that's like the stop for the hose. So when you put the hose back on, um, and I want to have the hose lined up the same way when this all gets reinstalled. So I want to make sure I put the white line at this stop, and then I'll be lined up to fit back in place just nicely. So now I'll take a pair of pliers, squeeze the spring clamp, move that back down the hose, and then we'll try just twisting the thermostat to get it out of the hose. And if that doesn't work, I'll use one of my picks to break the seal between the hose and the thermostat, and then pull the thermostat out of that radiator hose. With the thermostat off, I want to show you the what it looks like. So first, it comes as an integrated housing. You can see the thermostat rides inside the guides on the housing, um, going up and down. I'm told that you can buy the thermostat separately and then pull this old one out of the housing and just replace the thermostat, but it's this part is only 40 bucks, and it's a genuine Mopar OEM replacement part. I'll leave a link in the video description. It's cheaper on Amazon than it is to get it from the dealer by far. So it was around $40, and you're not going to get a thermostat alone for much cheaper. And this is plastic, so you might as well replace the plastic housing at the same time as the thermostat. But this is what it looks like. And like I said, I was worried that mine might be getting stuck, not being able to fully open. And I don't know if you could tell by looking at it if it's actually happening. Um, Obviously it's fully seated in the fully closed position right now, which is good. Other than that, can't really tell. There doesn't seem to be anything wrong with it. It was sealing just fine. It wasn't leaking, but I don't know. It could be a fool's errand, but for 40 bucks, some peace of mind, we'll go ahead and install it. And then this is the new one, OEM, like I said, and they look identical. And this will just, we'll put it back into the radiator hose and put it back in the engine, torque the two bolts down, and that's it. I was about to start putting this into the van, the new one, and then I looked at the old one again, and the old one doesn't have its seal on it. The new one does. So where did it go? It is still on the van. So check to make sure that your thermostat comes off with its seal, and if not, pull that seal out, because double seal, bad idea. Now before you go installing the new thermostat, I would say, remember the bleed screw here? Take a Phillips screwdriver or something bigger maybe, and put it in here and loosen the bleed screw. Not all the way, but it's in there pretty tight when you first get it. So make sure you can get it loose. It's easier to get that, break it free when it's up here. And I don't know if you can tell or not, but there's an O-ring in there. So that's, when you go to close it later, all you're doing is getting it snug against that O-ring. You don't have to Superman it tight, because then you could, again, break the housing. But we want it closed when we install it, but make sure you get it, that make sure it'll open and close before you go to install it. So then we'll put the new thermostat into the upper radiator hose and line up the shelf on the thermostat with that white line. And if it doesn't want to go in, maybe put a little bit of coolant on the plastic housing to give it a little bit of lubrication. And once it's in the hose, just put the spring clamp back in place. I'm one in the camp where you put the spring clamp in the same position that it was in, where the indentations are. Not everybody runs that direction, but that's how I like to do it. So now I'll just take a shop towel or something like that and run around where the thermostat goes into the engine block, really just cleaning up debris. If there's anything on the engine, we don't want that to get into the coolant system. And we also want to make sure there's a smooth sealing surface for that gasket. All right, then we're just going to put the thermostat down in place and get the bolt holes lined up, push it snugly up against the engine, run the two bolts in by hand to start with, then snug them both down, alternating back and forth till you get them snug. Then you're going to torque them both to 106 inch-pounds. It's around 8 foot-pounds, but I highly recommend getting an inch-pound torque wrench, doing it to that 106 inch-pounds limit. You definitely don't want to over-torque these. Everything it's aluminum and there's plastic, and you don't want to break or strip anything. With everything still removed, I'm going to loosen the bleed valve on the thermostat and open that up just a little bit. So now I'm going to set up my coolant filling funnel kit, put the adapter and the cap on so it'll fit for this radiator, put the funnel in, and then I can start adding some coolant. So the coolant for this van is an OAT coolant. It's not the HOAT. So you gotta be really careful you get the right coolant for this. I have a little bit of leftover peak orange cap fluid that'll work in here, and then I also have some Mopar specific coolant if I have to open that up. So I'll leave a link to both of those in the video description. So remember, the bleeder screw's already open, so when I pull the plug on the funnel, some coolant will start going into the radiator, and it should push air through this hose and then coolant as well. And once we start seeing coolant coming out, that's when we close this bleeder. And there is coolant dripping out, so we will close this up. Nice and snug, but not overly tight. Now that I know we've got the air out of the hose between the radiator and the thermostat, we can go ahead and fill the rest of the system with coolant and bleed it, burp it like normal. While the system's filling up, the other thing we're looking for is any leaks. Is that seal on the thermostat holding, or is it leaking out? This one's not showing any signs of leaks, so that's good. I'm going to go ahead and put the van back together except for the engine cover, and then we'll start it up and get the coolant flowing, get the van up to temperature, make sure it's fully bled out of air. So reinstalling it is just the opposite of taking it out. Push the air box down onto those grommets. Make sure the snorkel fits into the bottom of the air box, nice and clean and tight. And then just put the filter back on the top of the air box. Connect the hose. Don't forget the hose that runs over to the other side of the engine, and that should be it. All right, I gave the side of the engine and the belt a good wash, the best I was able to. So let's go ahead and start up the engine, let it run, get up to operating temperature, and then once the make sure the thermostat opens. Once it opens, we should start to see maybe a little bit of coolant flow into the out of the funnel, but it really shouldn't need a whole lot because we were using the bleed screw, and I think should have gotten most of the air out of the system already, but just still want to go through the full procedure just to make sure that everything's good. I got the heat turned on low, both for the front and the rear for the van. Right now the temperature gauge is right pegged in the center, so hopefully it stays that way, it doesn't overheat, and hopefully the issue that I've been having is resolved and that the thermostat itself was the actual problem. I will leave a note on the video if after driving around for a while that's different, but either way, this is how you replace the thermostat. Hopefully the video is helpful, useful. Leave comments. Everything I'm using, all the information is in the video description. Thanks for watching. Feel free to subscribe or give the video a thumbs up. And until the next video, y'all take care and have a good one.